was the last time that you or anyone you know who follows the Pittsburgh Baseball Club felt really, really good about that particular thing? Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and or hockey. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins. Where you found this: Pirates 4, Phillies 3 yesterday in Bradenton, FLA. And within that, Andrew McCutchen hit a 2-run homer. Fastball up a little bit, outer half of the plate, got all of it way up high, really hard, meaning the trajectory to the outfield, and just a little bit right of center. It was the classic Cutch shot. And then he's got that little skip. You know, he takes those short little steps whenever he's doing his home run trot. You can now picture it as I say that. And there goes number 22 in black and gold, and the people who are there at Lee Com Park who've been cheering him on like he's having his own homecoming in the Pirates' spring home, which is actually kind of a pretty neat thing. I mean, they've been there since 1969. Those people take their own ownership of the Pirates. And in that moment, everything just feels okay. You know, you're not thinking about payroll. You're not thinking about Bob nutting. You're not thinking about the lack of a salary cap. You're not thinking about all those things that have contributed in various forms and in various orders to holding this franchise down. Because there goes Cutch. Not all that long ago, Cutch made all things seem possible in Pittsburgh. And I got to tell you, I couldn't help but think about what that same scene would look like at PNC Park if he were able to do it for the home opener. Oh, I just got you now, didn't I? Yeah, just picture the roar. Imagine in your head the scope of that sound in that stadium when those people will have realized that they just witnessed something special, even if it's just for the moment, even if it's part of a season in which he ends up with, you know, the kind of numbers that you'd expect from a 36-year-old formerly great player. If he ends up with, I don't know, 17 home runs like he did last season in Milwaukee, that's a pretty nice number. And a decent average OBP, steal some bases thanks to the new rules, a little bit of help there. Does his share of contributing to the Pirates' share of winning and getting a little bit better. But just right then and there, as that ball were to sail over the fence in the direction of the Allegheny River, that. Here's what the man himself had to say after the game about that home run.
That was a no-doubter. You can get away with a lot of cheap ones, in spring training, how winds blowing 25 miles an hour straight out, you hit it off the end and pop it up, it goes out. But to be able to, when you hit one that you know is going to be one, it feels good. The good part about it is to be able to do it the way that I did, to go opposite field. For me, that's always been my bread and butter. So to be able to do that lets me know that I'm in a really good spot. I felt like at times I could do it last year, but this year, that's something I really worked on getting back to. So it's nice to be able to do that and hit the ball the way that I did. Get the homer, of course, feels good. And hopefully it's just maintain it, keep it. Don't feel like I got to do any more than that.
He's having a nice little spring, by the way, but nothing spectacular. 6 for 20 at the plate. That's a 300 batting average. 3 walks puts his on-base percentage at 391. These are all numbers that if he hit in the regular season, you'd be ecstatic over. So, just take it for what it is. He hasn't had all that much pop until this home run, and I'm sure that's the reason that, as you heard there from his voice, there's a little bit of an extra hop to it. But I'm going to share something else with you, because I've covered with all 3 of Pittsburgh's teams scenarios in which a great player or a formerly great player left Pittsburgh and then came back. It's not a really long list, but they've happened. And when they do, there's something about being in front of the home crowd that expects you to excel, that allows you to do that. Maybe it's because it jogs different parts of the memory or even muscle memory where you feel like, yeah, this is how this is supposed to be. You know, whenever Cutch was coming up to bat in Philadelphia or in San Francisco or Milwaukee or whatever it was, I covered a lot of his games with those teams in those parks. Every one of his games, as a matter of fact, last season in Milwaukee against the Pirates. And I got to tell you, when he was introduced to the crowd, and this is a crowd that's pretty much into the Brewers on a regular basis, he's just a guy. They'd have a bigger response for Rowdy Tellez. They had a bigger response for most of their lineup than when Cutch would come up. Not that they were disrespectful or anything. They just don't know. They can't know. And they don't have the same feeling that we're going to have in Pittsburgh when he steps into the box, when his name is announced. Not just for the first at bat, although that's going to be special for a while. You're going to see through the entire first homestand, I'll predict right now, a series of standing ovations with the first at bat of his in each game. And then from there, every time he's introduced, you're going to hear at least polite applause. It's human nature that he's going to feed off of that. Now, it can also work in the reverse because he could feel pressure and then, that he wouldn't have felt in Milwaukee and maybe try to do things that he no longer can do. But I don't think so. This is someone who was born with just a wealth of confidence, faith in himself and his abilities. I think it's going to be a big boost to him. I think you're going to see a very fun version of Cutch this coming summer. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park. Today's J1Q is so far off the rails that I love it. Daniel asks, why is it called a clubhouse in baseball, but it's a locker room in football, basketball, and hockey? Well, take this, Daniel, from someone who runs the editorial operation at DK Pittsburgh Sports, and I'm the one who assigns whatever our style is. That's what it's known in the news business. We follow the Associated Press's style, the AP style book. And in baseball, it is still known as the clubhouse. You will hear the players and the manager and everyone else in their world refer to it only as the clubhouse. Whereas, as your question suggests, every other sport calls it a locker room. The rooms themselves aren't any different, but baseball has a different name. Well, why? Well, baseball's always got to be different. You hear me say that all the time. However, there's actually a reasoning for this. Going back a long, long time ago, baseball locker rooms used to actually be these little clubhouses that were outside the field area, that weren't connected to the dugout in any way, that were usually out beyond the outfield. Now, that predates me in the world of the Pirates, because I have no idea where any of that was at Forbes Field. Although I'd have to imagine from some of the film of the post-game celebration following Bill Mazeroski's home run that it couldn't have been very far from the field. So I'm thinking that it was, in fact, under the stands. But I don't know that. Here's what I do know. In Bradenton, at what's now Lecom Park, used to be McCutchen Field for many, many, many years, there was, in fact, a clubhouse that was out beyond right field. This old school looking, no windows piece of cement that the team utilized not just for the locker room, but also for the athletic trainers, manager's office, and everything. And it was pretty cramped. It needed to be replaced. And to the Pirates' credit, a half a decade ago, they got that done and made themselves just a beautiful facility out there. But guess what? It's still a little house. It's still a standalone structure. And therefore, it is still, a clubhouse. Because that's where the term comes from. Very similar to golf. Where do the golfers all go after the 18th hole? They go to the clubhouse and they sit in there and they watch the monitor to see how everyone else is doing. It's a clubhouse. It's still a clubhouse. I hope that sticks. Even as you get into some of the bigger spring facilities now, the big ones like the one the Red Sox have in Fort Myers that holds about 8,000, the huge one the Yankees have in Tampa that holds 10,000, that you try to keep as much of that as possible. Baseball loves its past like no other sport, and I love the fact that it's still called a clubhouse. I appreciate the question. I wish I'd get more like this. This is fun. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. The team is actually off today, and they'll be back in action tomorrow in Bradenton. Thanks for listening.